Hey guys, we're OSMVDXReviews.com. Here's another retro review for you guys today. This is actually a HP Compaq iPAQ PDA Pocket PDA device that ran on a very early version of Windows for Pocket PCs, and this is actually known as the Compaq PC H3100 series. Also it also went on the back by the N119 series name, or again, the H3100 series. This is a very old-fashioned PDA device. In fact, it's one of the earliest models that ever came out. The models that came out after this were considered to be the quote-quote founders of the modern PDA era, which led eventually into the smartphone era. So this is even the father of that, which makes this ancient. I had to do a lot of digging just to find this device. And believe it or not, this is actually a monochrome touchscreen product, which is very old-fashioned, especially for something that runs on, again, you can see Windows on the top here, which is usually utilizes color displays, but it runs on Windows, a very early version of that, Windows-Mobile-like. So basic specs on here, and you can see design-wise, it's very, very similar, I guess, in terms of footprint and size to what you see even in newer PDAs, such as the HX2100 series or something even earlier than that, but you can see that the footprint in terms of that is pretty much par and par. It's just that this is a monochrome display and the features were even considerably less. Very, very basic, but the body is still made out of the solid aluminum, so it's a very solidly feeling product, and the display is still fairly large, but again, this is not very pocketable. You can see that beneath the display, which is a resistive touchscreen, by the way, you had access to this 5-way navigational D-pad that actually doubled as a speaker grill. A downside to this is if you have greasy fingers, grit can get accumulated down here really easily, and as a result it was kind of tedious to get stuff cleaned out down below here. And you can see that also below the screen itself you have access to a few other buttons, which consists of a back, you also have a calendar, an appointment, and some notes keys that are all tactile and easy to press relatively. They're plasticky, and yeah, they have nice travel to them, but they're pretty hard. Sometimes they're a little bit recessed below the surface, I'm going to be honest. On top of the device you have an ambient light sensor and also an LED to indicate if you're charging this device or not. And there's also, again, a power on and off switch is on the top of the device. Again, it's made out of metal, which is pretty nice. There's a little bit of a protrusion on the left hand side, which actually accesses a hotkey, and this can actually launch the voice recording key, which is kind of cool. You can record short voice messages or even access the volume controls by pressing that key button. And on the top of the device, you can see that you had some wireless options, which back then meant beam or IR, infrared, from one Pocket PC to another Pocket PC. And you also had a full 3.5mm headphone jack. This is actually one of the more surprising features on here. Probably the coolest feature, though, is the Stylus actual slot here, because it's a spring-loaded slot. We haven't seen those a lot from HP ever since, but basically they ejected like a rocket. Press that and it goes out, and especially if I'm ejecting at a downward angle, it's going to shoot out. So it might be a little bit dangerous, but it actually gets out at a pretty high velocity, initially at least. And you can take the entire stylus out. It's quite a cool system. I've loved playing around with that. And the stylus itself is heavy. It's made out of plastic, but again, it has a great feel to it. It's very solid. You can feel that it's kind of rubbery too in texture, which is great. And on the right hand side you don't have anything else, and on the bottom you can of course have the dock connection, which is the standard for all HP iPAQs of any era. On the back you had some, this is a jacket slot, which means that you could buy third-party accessories, which included like a sleeve that you slid, and you can connect this to additional accessories like a PCMA CIA card slot, which could allow you to access more features like Wi-Fi and stuff. And interestingly enough, this slot is a little bit different. The syncing port is still the same, but to charge this product, since it's so ancient, you actually can't use a dock. You have to use this AC adapter port on there. It's extremely rare, and I haven't actually found a match ever since I got my hands on this product yet, so I'll see if I can power it on in the future. But this is, again, a look back at this super old-fashioned device. Looking back something at the size of around an iPod, you can see how it's a lot thicker, but certainly it's again about the same size as an HTC HD2, which is quite large and chunky and heavy, especially for the specs. No wireless on this at all except for IR. No Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi. So let's take a look at some other stuff that I managed to find. There is a microphone on this product built on in. There's a Q menu button again that says Q on the front. It was lightweight for the time, and this came back in 2002. You could record again. Had a rechargeable lithium-ion battery for 14 hours of battery life, and there was a 1-year warranty that came included. Interesting things to note here was that it actually ran on a 206 megahertz Intel Strong-Arm processor. So in terms of processing speed, is actually not that bad. For 200 megahertz, things remain pretty snappy and responsive, considering you're not doing too much with this. You're just doing basic organizer functions. Not even a few games are loaded on here, so it's very, very basic. And for that, the processor does a brilliant job, considering Palm devices of the same era ran on 16 megahertz of Dragon Ball Z processor. So it's a considerable, huge difference. And at the same time, since it was pretty early, it was a little bit more expensive, but it wasn't the most expensive PDA out there either. And this actually came released both in Korea, Latin America, Spain, Italy, France, Germany, Hong Kong, Singapore, Europe, Austria, New Zealand, French, Canada, and in the US. So a lot of countries. It had 16 megabytes of built-in RAM and flash. Well, that's a tiny amount of memory, so you can expect you won't be doing any gaming or anything on here. But again, for basic organization, the 200 megahertz should suffice. You have some basic, the LCD more specifically, it was a 15 grayscale semi-transparent graphic display. Again, it's resistive, and the actual capacity for the battery was 950 milliamps. So that was pretty much everything that you got. A CD in the box was for Active Sync 3.1 to sync information. And in terms of software and programs, you had Voice Recorder, Notes, Calculator, Solitaire, Pocket Excel, Pocket Word, Pocket Internet Explorer, in case you had internet back then, Inbox, File Explorer, Internet Microsoft Reader for ebooks and audiobooks, and File Windows Media Player. Now I have to say that probably the best feature in this particular device, actually I'm going to say that the three, is one, the Pocket Word and Excel, which is going to be really useful. Unfortunately, the QWERTY keyboard that came included with this is quite small, and unfortunately the resistive touchscreen requires a huge amount of grinding just to make it work. And the next best feature is definitely its reader software, because a monochrome screen has a huge advantage. It's kind of like an ebook reader. It's a grayscale, so if you're still into this kind of stuff, it's like a pocket e-reader device. It's fun to read books on, which is great. And battery life is also great on the screen, so it's also good for using it outdoors, because you can still see it. There's no viewing angle issues with an LCD display, because color issues come with if you're using a color display instead. And also the 3.5mm headphone jack makes this a great device for playing MP3s and music with the included Windows Media Player. So again, that was pretty much everything. It was actually a very interesting product that came out way back then, and it's interesting to see how this product is right now completely discontinued and dropped, and these can be found on eBay for under $10. So if you look around, these can be super cheap. So if you still want to get a very, very basic organizer, this is actually an okay solution, actually a pretty good solution, because it does quite a lot of features, and for the price of only $10, it really can't be beat. Considering the same price point, we talked about a lot of modern organizers that you can get for new today that are made in China that are just atrocious from third-party companies. For example, the One World PDA device we just reviewed a few days ago was just atrocious. At the same price point, we would really just go for something even older that might be used, but still it's got a lot of stuff going around for a great construction quality. And Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel are key features that make this device still pretty relevant. And 200 megahertz processor isn't bad either, and it's pretty responsive. So there's a brief look at some of the content that you can find online. There's your today screen, just in black and white, of course, but there you go. Some buttons on the back. It talks to you about the battery life, the speakers, and some information for new. And that's pretty much it. The menu information remains pretty much unchanged from Windows Mobile. Start button with the start on the top, start screen on the top of the device instead of on the bottom. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, so that's a pretty interesting look back at one of the founding fathers of the entire PDA industry, the Compaq HP. Turning it over to the back, N119 series, also known as a Compaq iPAQ H3100 series. So thanks for watching here at osmvtxreviews.com. This has been a pretty interesting look back to review, and hope you enjoyed this video.